Hello, I'm Eaan Wilson at Wilson's Funeral Home, presenting my term paper for FSE 223, Dr. Ennis's class. In times of bereavement, it's necessary to help facilitate a healthy and beneficial grief process that comes to a healthy conclusion. As funeral service practitioners, one very important tool we have to facilitate this is the embalming process. The article that I selected to help appropriate this claim is "We Are Not Denying Death" by Ben Whitworth in the Dodge magazine. Whitworth makes the argument that closure and acceptance are best accomplished through viewing and visitation with the deceased, made possible through arterial embalming. Whitworth asserts that embalming is ultimately beneficial in the grief process by allowing the family to confront the reality of the death while providing them with a pleasant final memory that's free of shock, trauma, or health risks. To emphasize this point, he recounts the story of caring for his maternal grandfather. Whitworth describes how embalming allowed his family to view the man even 6 weeks after the death had occurred. And I quote, "The relief was palpable after spending an hour or so at the funeral home. Everyone was glad of that last opportunity and a pleasant memory." Whitworth also described how embalming provided families opportunities to view decedents with infectious cases, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. During this time, safety of the family was made priority, which was made possible by embalming and allowed for safe contact with the deceased. Fundamentally, the main idea of "We Are Not Denying Death" is that despite current trends toward cremation and direct disposition, grieving families gain a great psychological benefit from viewing embalmed bodies. This is an assertion that myself, along with the majority of funeral service professionals, would agree with. There's no more beneficial an act in finding closure than viewing the deceased. This ultimately assists the deceased in the family in coming to an acceptance of their loss, and a normal and necessary part of the grief process. The process of grief is a natural and normal process for the bereaved to come to confront the occurrence of a death. Every person grieves differently in manner and duration of grief. One predominant function of embalming is the positive presentation of the deceased to create a pleasant, natural, final viewing for the bereaved. For the family, this allows some closure and peace of mind and negates factors that may complicate their grief, such as a negative final viewing experience. Whitworth describes it this way: "Seeing the dead human body allows the bereaved the opportunity to confront and acknowledge that a death has occurred. It may also remove some of the unpleasantness of a final memory. The natural and healthy progression of the grief process is made ever so slightly easier for the family when the embalming has been performed." Another important function, perhaps the most important, is the preservation of the deceased. Not only are embalmed bodies safer and easier to handle, but embalming also allows for bodies to be held for longer periods of time. Allowing this time for out-of-town relatives and friends to travel and gather for the funeral helps create a support system for the bereaved. It also allows the family time to process the loss. And this reduces the stress and lessens the likelihood of this impacting their grief journey. Another benefit makes the transport of decedents who die away from home to be returned home for visitation in their service. Additionally, embalming allows for viewing and contact with decedents who die from infectious diseases. One example is the spike in infectious cases during the COVID-19 pandemic. During this time, we often had to deny families who had often not seen the deceased in several days the opportunity to view their loved one because they were unembalmed and COVID positive due to the public risk of infection. In cases where the decedent was embalmed, the perceived risk of infection was negated. Those who chose embalming had the same ability to view as though COVID had not been a factor. In conclusion, embalming creates peace of mind and acceptance. In most cases, which viewing is desired, providing a final viewing opportunity to spend time with and helping to create a positive final memory of the deceased are beneficial to a healthy journey through grief. Additionally, embalmed bodies have the advantage of being more safely and easily transported, making viewing after transport over a long distance more likely to be possible. Embalming also makes infectious cases more possible to be viewed. Overall, I agree with the thoughts and opinions expressed in We're Not Denying Death from the Dodge magazine. This has been my term paper. Thank you.